Alright, before you start working on your bottoms-up system, you're going to want to disconnect the CO2 and keg from the line. For instance, we're going to be working with this line today. You're going to want to disconnect it by turning off the gas, number 5, and then also disconnect the keg. And then also I would go ahead and place a cup or press down on this valve here to release all the pressure that's already built up in there. But this way, beer is not going to squirt all over you and spray everywhere when you're working on the system. Alright, so now we'll get to changing out the brass block. Alrighty, I'm going to be showing you how to change out your brass block on your bottoms-up dispenser. The reasons you would change this out, if you accidentally stripped inside threads to this brass block by just tightening it too hard when it's not threaded correctly. It's not the easiest process, but I'm going to show you some tricks and steps to do it yourself. Alright, so first we're going to designate the valve here. This is the valve we're going to be working on. And we're going to take off the drip tray here and take off this nut that is holding the valve together. Here. Get you a better angle. You can use any wrench, really. I'm just using an adjustable wrench right now. Go counterclockwise to take it off. And just be careful because these edges can be very sharp, so wear gloves if needed. And it just pops right off. Alright, so now this is detached. You can now go underneath, and we're going to disconnect it from the bottom. Alrighty, so we are looking actually underneath the dispenser right now. Here we got our block here. It is disconnected at the top, so it'll be wiggly. But what you're going to be doing is we're going to be taking out this clamp here, little C-clamp or E-clamp, these 4 screws, and this Lincoln log, and that should pop off pretty nicely, so we're going to do that right away. I like to go with the screws first. Make sure these things will fall down, so you just kind of gently do that. Alright, just put those screws in a safe place. Don't lose them. Then, to take this clamp off, you can just kind of usually take your screwdriver, put it in an angle right there, right in the little spot. This is in a little tight area, so difficult. Take off your little clamp, and this Lincoln log right here, pop off right nicely. We'll put those 2 things on the side. Now, this whole thing can drop down, and then the wires are still going to be disconnected. But now we're going to take off the sensor screws, and the sensor screws are. Take a screwdriver right here. There's 2 screws holding the sensor together. You're just going to be taking those off. I'll show you after I get it done here. And you're free to bend this down a little because you got some wiggle room. And if a regular screwdriver does not work, you can use a tweaker screwdriver, a Phillips tweaker screwdriver. That usually works as well. They kind of get, because these are a little bit tinier screws. Take one screw out. Then take the second one out. Boop. And like that, your sensor, this boy right here, pops off. Alright, and now, the only thing really holding this thing on is a zip tie right here, which you can snip off. Either use some scissors but just be careful because this is what the tube is next to, so I'm using some clamps right now, but feel free to use anything. Just be careful with the tube. Alright. That zip tie is off, and you can pop this thing off like that. It's going to be free. You'll see that the sensor is kind of, this black thing is the sensor. This will be able to come off just with tape, and you let that dangle as well. And all we have right here going for us is we have the brass block that you'll be replacing and the tube connected to it. And you should be able to kind of crank it counterclockwise and unthread it from the brass block. And you can actually take this cone out of here by just pulling out this way from the top. And like that, your brass block is now off. To replace it, you're going to need to grab yourself a new one, which in this case, we'll be using the same one. And we usually send them with the O-ring inside, but this O-ring does come out. So if yours does come with no O-ring, you can take your old one and replace it by just taking it out and popping it back in. I can show you right here. Boom, comes out. You just place in a new O-ring or the one that was already on your old one, like that. And then you're going to take your plunger rod assembly, this, shove it right through. Boom. And you'll notice that the plunger head, not the plunger head, the diaphragm, which is that rubber piece, is not flush with this thing. So what you can do is you can gently take a screwdriver, kind of poke around to get that flush in there. And here, this is what it looks like when you're putting it on. You get one little lip out, kind of drag it around, and then boom, it should be like that. That's what you're looking for. Flush seal. And if it helps, you can take off this clip and this washer and actually pull that whole thing down and then reattach it. But this way you don't even have to do any of that. Alright, so now that it's off, we're going to reattach our barb by just twisting it on. Make sure it's a really tight seal. Then we're going to go ahead and put a flow sensor on. That's the thing with the tiny screws. It's going to be this one. And you'll notice that when you're putting it on, there's only one way you can go. The holes only match up one way, and then that big bump out is going to be going into this little channel on the brass block. Then you can do that and put the screws in. Once you get one of the screws in, it's a little bit easier. You don't have to hold everything and just let it dangle. Just like that. Then I'm going to reattach this flow sensor. And to reattach this, you'll notice that the cup sensor, this thing, has two little divots right by the tape. The divots actually fit into two divots up here on the brass block. And those actually kind of snapping together. So, and then both wires are going to be all the wires are going to be facing this way towards the circuit board. All right, so now that it's kind of just on there, and you kind of take a piece of the tape that's already on there and kind of squish it towards the brass block. Then we're going to go ahead and press. We're going to put this into this, like so. Should be looking pretty nicely, and the rod just goes straight down through here, and then from here we can actually reattach our screws, our 4 screws that we took out, and they're the 4 long screws. By putting these in, it will make it easier to put the whole thing on at once. I'll show you what it looks like dangling before I attach it, so that you guys can kind of correct something if it's not right. Alrighty, this is what it should look like, just dangling right now after all the steps we did. Our hose is attached. You got the sensor kind of just fitted on there. The only things we have not done is reattach this to the top and also put on our Lincoln log along with a E-clip. So we're going to do that now. To reattach this, we're going to take the curvy side of this Lincoln log, and the curvy side is going to be going up against it. It's going to go like this. So the flat side is going to be kind of flat with this. Curvy side is going up, like so. And then the E-clip is going to fit right on that little rod that's right. I'm pushing down right here. It's going to just fit right there, and there's a little groove you'll notice. And you kind of just press fit that on. And if you're having trouble press fitting it on, you can also use some pliers to kind of just snap it right in place. Alright, and now we're going to go ahead and place it back up into where it needs to go. I can shove it up here. Make sure there's no wires in the way. Push them to the side. Put it up there. Now, it's just going to stay in place for right now. We're going to have to go to the top to put that nut back on to reconnect it to the whole dispenser. Alrighty, back here on the top of the dispenser, we've changed out our block, and we're just going to reconnect this nut, and that's the last thing we really have to do. This is probably one of the harder processes to do, so I'm going to take a little zoom in here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reaching underneath the dispenser, kind of pressing up on this valve, and you'll see it kind of move right here. And basically I'm just trying to press it up as much as I can so I can fit this nut on. To fit this nut on, we're going to have to fit it over these 3 wings, this black piece right here. And to do that, you're just going to try to get the nut over 2 of them, and on the last one you're going to press forward to kind of just get it connected, like so, and then you can press down to seal them all. Then we're going to gently try to thread the nut and it's just a feely thing. You're just gonna have to see if it's threading. Do not force it if it is not going in, because then you have a chance of doing the same thing that could have happened to you before, and misthread the whole thing. And you'll feel it get tighter and tighter if you know you're in the right. Just gonna keep on doing that. That's good for right now, and then we're going to tighten it with the wrench we got. Like that. Your brass block is changed, and you can also, like I said, you don't have to use an adjustable wrench. You can use a normal wrench like this. I was just using an adjustable one for this video, but you can use one like this to help take it off. And there you go. That's how you change out the brass block on a bottoms up system.